The mind and the emotions, two things that run us. If you want to look into your life and try to understand what is running the show, what is telling you what to do, what is informing your sense of okayness, your sense of fear, anxiety, or telling you that everything is great and you have happiness here, it's your feelings and it's your thoughts. So we are making the transition from Gemini into Cancer. These are both signs and houses that are on the bottom part of the zodiac, incredibly personal. In fact, Mercury is the mind. As I've been talking about in my previous Gemini episodes, if you've missed those, check them out, because the mind tells us what to do all the time. The mind is so incredibly busy and it's always bringing us information. It's like when you have a child that just keeps bringing you stuff. Mommy, look, mommy, look, mommy, look, mom, 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 mom. That's your brain. That's your Mercury mind. And our brains are with us all the time, all day, every day. A lot of people end up developing addictive behaviors because they can't get away from their mind. They need to get space from that constant monkey chatterbox mind. Very personal, always here. And then straight into the moon, the realm of Cancer, the fourth house, which is how we feel. Feelings are with us all the time. And some of us don't totally relate to being a feeler, right? We may say, I don't feel deeply, or I just feel kind of numb, or I'm not somebody that gets really emotionally activated. And all of those things are true, but you still have feelings that will sweep in, that will make you feel a certain way. Sometimes the feeling comes from, I don't want to deal, I'm overwhelmed, or it could go to the other side where you're feeling deep love or deep sadness. So it's really common that we are tossed around by our thoughts and our feelings. And our feelings and our emotions are full of information, but they do not necessarily, and I would go so far as to say they rarely actually have the truth. So we have to be very discerning with thoughts and emotions. We have to be careful that we don't fall too hard or too quickly. They're like the fast talkers, the slimy salesman that comes in and says, hey, guess what? That person's blowing you off. That person isn't reciprocating. Wow, you gave a lot to that person and they didn't give you anything back. Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember that last time that happened? Or it could look like, did you read the facts? Did you look at that link? Did you read that piece of news? Did you hear what that person said? So we're looking at details. What happened when? That's what I thought then. Our practice as we are working with these archetypes within us, because we all have Mercury and we all have the moon, which is the planet that rules Cancer. We all have those within us and pretty obvious, here to stay. Before we keep going, I am Nafa Perkins of Electra Astrology. I am bringing you all of these talks. They're called Astrology for Awakening, where I'm going through the facets of all of the sun signs as a set of teachings for you to better understand yourself, your own psychology, and your own spiritual nature. So make sure to give them a listen. You do not have to be a sun sign that matches the talk. We all have every single one of these sun signs within us, and we are all acting them out all day, every day, and using astrology as an organizer for the human psychology is a really neat way to do it. Don't have to think that hard. Can just start making connections. And I do teach in a way that's designed to help you make connections. These teachings are inquiry for you so that you can self-understand, can understand your inner world, makes it a lot easier and more peaceful to coexist with the outer world, which we don't have a lot of control over. So the talk that follows is from my season 5 podcast, Star Narratives. I am re-releasing these on YouTube and on Star Narratives. So wherever you're consuming this podcast, here you go. Make sure to like and subscribe. It keeps the algorithm fresh. You'll keep getting reminders to watch this content, and it'll help other people to find it. So in the meantime, if you like my style and you want to book a private reading with me, or I have a plethora of other offerings, different ways that you can use astrology to understand yourself better, to figure out how to heal, to figure out why your relationships feel edgy, why your career no longer feels fulfilling, et cetera, You can find me at electraastrology.com, and let's jump in. We are making that transition this week from the thinking, information consuming mind of Gemini into the hidden aspects of your own emotional landscape, Cancer. We spent the last 4 weeks or so talking about that Gemini mind. We went into all of the different facets, the Gemini shadow, where we looked at gossip, inconsistency, allowing your mind to rule over you. We also talked about Gemini and Sagittarius and that being the axis of the way that you process information and what you're doing with it and how you allow that information to change the way you perceive something or change your perspective or block a perspective change. And then we also talked about the beautiful gifts of Gemini, which is in being able to flow and communicate and take in all of these different little tidbits of information, whether it was through the senses or through something that you saw on a screen or just using your own experiences to shape and form your world. We need the mind. We also have to be very careful because the mind easily leads us astray. I would say that most, if not all of our problems are made worse by the power of our mind and the way that our mind will take us onto these anxious journeys of what ifs. So we talked about learning to control your own mind, of being so aware of how thoughts were filtering in. Do you allow thoughts and information to come in and usurp the power? So last week we talked about how we are each our own personal kingdom. Mercury is the messenger. Mercury goes around getting information, getting stories, getting problems, getting gossip from all of the different lands within your kingdom. And then it brings those to the king and the queen. The king is the sun. That is your sense of self, of who you are. And the moon is the queen. We're going to talk about the moon because we are transitioning into Cancer season. But imagine if the messenger was actually running the kingdom based on the kind of information the messenger was bringing. The messenger can easily distort information. It can bring information that is false. It can rile the king and the queen up unnecessarily. And that is what we're watching for when we are getting control of our mind. We're making sure that the messenger in our kingdom does not hold all of the power. The messenger is incredibly important, and we need that energy to be going around, gathering up what is happening here, what needs to be solved here, who needs support here. We need that. And our mind is a wonderful tool for that. But we do not want it to be running the show. So that is a good segue into working with our internal queen this month. We are starting with the sign of Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal energy. It is ruled by the moon and it belongs in the fourth house. The fourth house is a really deep house. There's a lot in there. It is at the bottom of the zodiac. It is the most private of the houses. And we, of course, have our own private sides, sometimes private even to ourselves. So when we start delving into this energy of the crab of Cancer, we are looking at so many intricate layers. Our lineage, our family of origin, our family of creation, where we go for refuge, what kind of safety and security we seek, how we experience our own emotions, what is likely to trigger us, what is likely to hurt our feelings, what is likely to make us feel unsafe. A lot of this will relate back to your childhood, especially your mother, because this is the energy of the mother. So if you even just take the mother alone and think about the intricacy of your relationship with your mother, it's a lot. We are grown in the body of our mother, who was grown in the body of our grandmother. In the fourth house, with this archetype of Cancer, it is very hard to say this is our stuff because it is also our mom's stuff. It is also our grandmother's stuff. And we go back through the lineage. What have we inherited through our DNA? What have we inherited by being mothered by the mother that we had? How did our own mother work with her emotions? And how did she react and respond to our emotions? And then we come out into being our own human, becoming our own personal queen. And
we are faced with having to figure out, how do we, as an emotional, sensitive, attuned, intuitive being, how are we going to rule our kingdom through the lens of our emotions? And these are questions that we're going to cover over the next 4 or 5 weeks as we dive into this energy. So know that as we move from air, which is so very mental, Gemini is mutable, which means that it is ever changing. It is wanting all the options. It can jump around from thing to thing very happily. But the moon is very different. The moon is water. Water is hard to predict. Water changes very quickly. You can bring ice cold water to a boil in about 2 minutes, or rain can turn to snow right before your very eyes. So while the water element is also unpredictable, and it can be erratic, and it can be ever changing, emotions are very useful information. They really help us to understand where our boundaries are and what feels right for us and what just happened. But we don't want to give all of the ruling power to the queen either. So, in the same way, we don't want the messenger coming in and distorting what it is that needs to be done or our understanding of how things are working. We also don't want to allow that emotional queen to be front and center, making the decisions based simply on a current emotion, because water is ever changing and water changes moment to moment. So, in human design, they call this riding the emotional wave. We're going to talk about that this month, is riding that emotional wave, allowing the information that it's bringing you to impact you, to give you a deeper understanding of what is happening in this moment, but not getting carried away with it, not letting that tsunami come and destroy everything. So take a minute and come back to the present moment, into the here and the now. And you can do that by taking some deep breaths into your lungs, into your heart, and try to go as deep as into your belly. And as you're breathing, do a scan of your body and get a sense of what it feels like in your body right now. And this might be the first time that you have paid much attention to your body all day. As we know from Taurus season, when we tune into the body, there is so much data to be found there as well. The body has an intelligence that is, without a doubt, incredibly useful. So, tuning into your body, what are you noticing? We're talking about emotions, and we know that emotions can be precarious. When we begin to dive into this fourth house, Cancerian moon energy, the ground can get a little bit unstable. It can feel a little bit murky and swampy, because most of us take our emotions and our emotional responses and we hide them. And that is the fourth house. It is a hidden house. This month, as we go through Cancer season, you might find some emotions that have been hidden down there that want to come to the surface. Ideally, with Cancer energy, we are looking to understand the private parts of ourselves. So oftentimes, this burying of emotions is unconscious. Or if there are things that we don't know how to feel and we don't know how to process, we'll put them away for later. We'll tuck them into one of the rooms of our home. And remember, the fourth house is representative of the home. So if we were to look at your emotional self as a home, what is the state of that home? Are there a lot of things shoved into all the closets? Are the rooms messy, or are they tidy? And of course, this is just imagery that I'm asking you to explore. You might need some time to actually get in there. But as you are sensing into your physical body right now, I want to bring this to your attention. We think of our emotions as being connected to our heart, and that is true, but astrology correlates the sun with the heart. The Cancerian energy is connected with the chest, the breast, and the digestive system. So, as we are navigating through this month, those are places to really pay attention to as you are doing your body scans and you're tuning in. What is happening in your chest area? What is happening with your digestion? Digestion can be a very insightful tool We're helping you to figure out how you are feeling emotionally about something. Similarly to what we talked about with that Gemini mind, how the mind will take you on a journey before you even realize that it's happening. Overthinking or ruminating or prophesizing a terrible future. And we know it's really important to get a handle on how your mind shows up for you personally. What is it bringing you? How often is it taking you away? I do this exercise when I wake up in the night and I have a hard time falling back asleep. I will set a goal to breathe 100 counts. So the in breath and the out breath, each one breath. And I'm watching how quickly my mind takes over. Last night, I got to 4. It took me 4 breaths before my mind came back in and took me away. That happened several times in a row. You can practice this as well. It gives you a sense of how quickly your mind comes in and corrupts your storyline. Now, with emotions, they work a little bit differently because emotions will come in unbidden. We are very easily emotionally triggered, and emotions are much more subtle. Some people are able to feel their emotions very easily, and they're able to recognize when something has happened, their feelings have got hurt, or they're having a rush of love. But for most of us, I would say it's a little bit more difficult. So this week, as you are tuning in to, let's say, your chest and your digestion, when your digestion is being wonky, backtrack. What happened today that might have felt emotionally upsetting to me? What happened today that might have thrown me off? Because you will likely find your answer, and then you can work from there to explore. Why did I get so easily triggered? Why were my feelings hurt in that way? So unlike the mind and the way that the mind just comes in and wants to keep the story rolling, the emotions act sometimes like splinters, things that can be very painful for you that you can't feel in that moment get lodged way down deep. And so you might be having an emotional experience or emotional reaction to something related to something that happened so many years ago that you don't even remember. So here's an example of how the memories associated with emotions can come out of nowhere. Why don't you think back to 20 years ago? Think about what you were doing 20 years ago in your life and think about what kind of music you were listening to. Pull up a song from that era and play it and see what kind of emotional memories rise to the surface for you. And spend some time listening to that song in private with your eyes closed, just sensing into how that song makes you feel, how it feels in your chest, how it feels in your intestines, and see whether you have any memory that bring you back to a specific emotional experience from that era. This is a place that you can employ your mind, your messenger, to go out and seek specific information and bring it back to you. This is a great way of tuning into how deep your emotions are, how far back those memories go, and how sometimes we can remember joyful things, joyful emotions. And sometimes there are difficult things that come to the surface to be processed. A strong and emotionally resilient queen is one that can understand the ebb and flow of her own emotions, that will come in and advocate, attune to what is happening, and know how to handle it.
All right. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I hope that you learned something, and I will see you all soon.